Hello, everyone. Hope you survived the first week of the semester. It's Dr. Allen. Looks like everything that was posted so far with week one, everyone's gotten in, been cruising. Selfies looked great. I know some of you said you didn't think it looked like you or such. I never think that either, but hopefully you had a little bit of fun. Great seeing it. We have a very diverse group in all of our sections, both 380s and of course for 500. This week, we are actually going to look at websites, and I'm just going to go ahead and dive in as to what we're going to do this week, and I'm going to do my best to do this in one take, so forgive any goof ups. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to, of course, get rid of that. There we go. All right, so what are we doing this week? One, we're going to talk about creating a website. I will go ahead and tell you, and I'm going to make this a little larger. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this. The websites, I kept them for the class because there's something that I like to do when I was teaching. And also, I actually had my students create some because the ones that we're going to look at are pretty user-friendly, and they do have student options if you want to try to create something. I will say this. I used it as my home base when I was doing everything. Sorry, I'm looking at the camera. I can look straight ahead. I used it as my home base, so to speak, mostly because we didn't have things or a great learning management system when at the school I was teaching at in the final days. Today, things like Schoology, Google Classroom, things like that, Brightspace I think is another one, they all kind of have started to replace the idea of Weebly and Wix and such, but I still think it's a good skill to have, so I decided to make it our first thing. I will also tell you, they take a little bit to get used to. They're a little quirky in some of the drag and drops, but I think everyone will be able to fight through it, and if not, of course, contact me if you have any issues. As I mentioned, we're going to look at websites. We're also going to look at 21st century skills. That's something where they're pretty basic, pretty straightforward, but it's something that kind of comes up and is an educational buzzword, so I thought we'd go ahead and examine that. The technology is listed there again. By the way, for the assignment this week, I'll say this multiple times. You can do any of those. You can do Weebly, you can do Wix, you can do Google for your website, whatever you prefer to do or whatever you're familiar with or whatever one you're going to try. I will say this, the one that I'm going to use, I've always used Weebly, and that's just what I'm used to. That's the one I use for my class site. That might go back to my National History Day contest days. That was the website requirement for that, and I was always familiar with it. Your assignments this week are going to be to create a website. You're going to blog on the website. And again, the blogs that as of this point, I'm recording this on Wednesday, I believe the 20th. Let me double check. Yes, the 20th have been spot on. You've been just saying whether you would have used the arts and culture or not. Again, doesn't hurt my feelings if you don't think or foresee yourself using any of this, but just give me a quick feedback. The second discussion board will be on 21st century skills. We'll look at that before the end of this lecture. And the other thing I'm going to go ahead and tell you to do, there's no place to submit it. Many of you probably already have one, but make sure you have a Google account for next week, just because we're going to work in Google Classroom a little bit, and having a Google account is something that you need. Most people already have one at this point, and the one that you have should work because we don't give an actual school account or anything like that. All right, and just in case you need to know it, this PowerPoint that I'm going to pull up is actually posted without my voice if you want to look at it. There is a link here for Wix, which is one of the websites you can look at. And I will always, in case my instructions are not very clear or are a little tongue-tied or anything like that, I will always have an informational video on the technology that might be a little more polished than what I'm doing there. But as you can see, there's Wix. Let me go back. And Weebly, which we'll talk about, and again, there's another one. I have the creating a Google account, and actually, I do not have the link to creating a Google site. I would post that up. A lot of times, people like to use that one in more recent times, especially last semester with the switch to more virtual learning. So I'll make sure that is up. Your link to your blog is here. When you submit your website, and I'll talk about that after I show you how to do the website, but you will have to make sure that you provide me the link so I can just click it and make sure you have all the aspects to the assignment. And 21st century skills, these are posted on the discussion board also, but the readings are right there if you need them. So you can just click on them. Most weeks I'll try not to go through kind of show you where to click and everything, but with this being the second week and really our first full week of doing an assignment, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And then if you need to see the website assignment, it'll be right here. I'm going to pull that up at the end. So with all of that being said, let me go down here. I believe I should have, do I? No, I do not, but that's okay because I'm going to pull it up right now. There. This is a website. E-planning, I'm not going to dive into that too much today because I actually moved that down on the syllabus a little bit after I created this PowerPoint, but I might give you a little preview of that here at the end also. But here we go. All right, websites in the classroom. Why do you need a website? Or let's even think about this if you're going to have a home base like, you know, some sort of Google Classroom or some sort of Schoology type home base. It's basically, there's a lot of advantages for students and teachers, and that should include another group. Parents, of course, benefit from all this. For teachers, it's the paperless classroom. I will say this, before I left and came to Shepherd, it's been about 2 years now, I was using Google Classroom a good bit for a lot of just handouts and things like that and collection, and we'll talk about that next week. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But even for posting announcements, if you have a website, you can actually post a lot of these handouts there. Of course, you can still give the handouts, but if you were giving a handout, I would make sure that you post it also on the website. It's just, you know, it's in that spot. And if a student says they can't find it or they don't know what they did with it, if you have a website, they can go right to that website and print it off. It usually only takes a second to post. Everything that I handed out, any PowerPoint I did, anything like that, I always put up on my website, and I'll show you that here in a few minutes. And of course, it's more environmentally friendly. Let me add that tidbit. And again, I mentioned it, but materials are always posted, so the excuse of I didn't get it or I didn't know where to get it, I was absent, I didn't get it, it will always be there. My students always knew if they couldn't find something, it would be on the website, even if I did hand it out, minus a test and things like that. It also helps with differentiated instruction. You know, you can assignments can be tiered, you can post, there's always the access, so there's things there. It's organization and management. It's an easy place to find things. When I was doing discussions, I was a social studies teacher, I would do some lectures and discussions and things like that. I could easily go to my website and just pull up my PowerPoints. I could pull up, you know, my handouts. And that's another thing, my PowerPoints were always posted, so students who had to have, you know, notes and things like that, or wanted to print out the PowerPoints before class, they could do that in form of a differentiated instruction or something to help some students. Also, you can, you know, I kept mine pretty straightforward, but you can do newsletters, blogs, announcements on all of these. Weebly, I know, has a blog site and it has an announcement site. For students, you know, it's a way for students to collaborate with the class, of course, communicate on work and assignments. I mentioned it. I was thinking about this in 2 ways. One, students can get my information from our website. I will show you, I had students actually make some Weebly sites and they loved it once they figured out how to do it. I will say this, if you're going to have students make a website, have a day, make sure you have a lot of patience, because it's going to take probably, you know, I'm not going to say a full class, but it's going to take some time during a class to kind of get them to understand how to finagle and build the website. Once they get it, they get it. But it's just one of those things where you're just going to have to devote a little bit of time to get them going. That's with any technology, though. Again, I mentioned the absentee and things like that. And also it makes the class a more of a 21st century type class if you have a website. You know, we're getting to the point where a lot of times you don't need to, you know, hand out everything. It's, you know, there should be a home base. And I think that's what I'm trying to get to with all of this. There should be one location where students should be able to get things. Whether it's a website, whether it's next week with its Google Classroom or Schoology, you need to have some place where you post things. And this is one option. For parents, again, it's a communication place. They can check and see if anything was handed out, or if a student says they didn't do anything in class, they could go here. Gives a little bit of transparency, which I think is always a good thing. Your class isn't so secretive. Again, your parents can see what you're doing and such. Usually there's an email link on the website, which I think is always important because sometimes parents have trouble finding news for some reason. Actually being a parent, I actually understand that. Also, I think it makes parents feel more involved. It keeps them on the ball, so to speak, so they can encourage, check up on the students again when they say, well, I didn't do anything, or I don't know what we have to do. I also posted announcements such as homework and such on mine. And again, I think some of the learning management systems today fill that gap. I mentioned there's Google, Weebly, and Wix. Some schools do provide their own like web connection or website, and you can also use that. If you go to Berkeley County, I know they have spots such Mr. or Mrs. such and such's website and all. Again, I'm probably going to focus more on the Weebly Wix because that's what I've used, but a lot of people have started to gravitate to the Google sites, and I will make sure that there's a instructional video on there if you want to go with that route. Both Weebly and Wix are plug and play websites, meaning you just simply drop in what you want to build, you drop it on your site, and it creates the spot. And I'll show you that here in a second. I actually took some screenshots of mine. Again, they are free, and actually this is an important tidbit that I should mention. When you sign up for them, go to Weebly Education. There is a link that'll be on the site. But go to Weebly Education and you want to sign up. You will get that is free, I guess is what I'm trying to spit out. It is actually free, and you get a number of free student sites that if you want to have your students create anything. Now, if you really want to upgrade it to certain things, you do have to pay a little bit a year. I think I still pay it just for this class and just to kind of keep up to date with some things. I believe it's $10 to $15, I believe, for the year, but don't quote me on that for Weebly. This is what my website looked like. I was a social studies teacher. That's what I did. I also used it because I had to do different things. I also had to do National History Day. I mentioned I did History Bowl, West Virginia History Bowl. Any announcements I had for my class. I actually sometimes I have an English minor, and I did have to fill in sometimes for a language arts class. I wasn't the last couple of years, but I always kept my materials up just in case I knew them. That's another positive thing. You know where you can find stuff even if you're not teaching that class in another year, and you can close things out and not make it accessible and all if you need to. And as you can see, there's my links, my 8th grade, 7th grade, and 6th grade classes, social studies fair. This is a spot. I would load everything up, and I'll show you. When you sign up for Weebly, I'm just going to imagine you're doing Weebly. When you sign up for it, you're going to have something that looks like, let me pull this over, please. Nope, not that. Let me move my face, that might help. There we go. You're going to get something that looks like this. There's a couple sites that I have that I still make, and there's my actual web address. When you click this, once you have your site, my site, and you can name your site whatever you want, you'll get something that looks like this. And there's a lot going on, but these are my things. If I want to work on my home page, that's this. If I want to work on my 8th grade page, that's that. And as you can see, I kept mine very basic. 7th grade was here. Now, let me go back to our PowerPoint here. Whoops. Oh, where's my PowerPoint? Oh, I know where my PowerPoint is. Excuse me. This is the warts and all that I was mentioning. There we go. I was going to try to pull it up from the bottom. That page, after you sign in, like I just showed you, you have all of this funny stuff. You can add pages. That's there. You just click on that, and that's the title. And these are your tools. What you will do is if you click a page, anything you want to put on there, you can slide this over. And I'll go back to the page here and show you real quick. So for example, if I want to create a new page, I click on there. If I want to add something to here, all I have to do is take this and drop it over. If I want to do an image, I just drop it over. You might have to mess around with this a little bit. And I'm not looking for an all-world site. I'll show you what I'm looking for. I'm really just looking for other things. And for each page, like this is a page, this is a page, and such, you'll just add. And I kept mine, like I say, very basic. But if I wanted to add a new page, I'll click on that. And then I would click right there, that plus button, and it will give me the option to make a new one. And I just named all of those. Oops. Again, this is just a location. I kept mine mostly for handouts, and when I would talk in class, I could just do it. I will say I loaded most of mine up as PDFs and not as PowerPoints or Words. One, I didn't want anyone being able to type over things. Two, it seems like PDFs is just the safest thing for people to open. That was a personal preference, so I'm not telling you to do that. I work on Mac a lot, and sometimes people couldn't open things. That's it. I'll show you what you have to do. You're going to have to mess around with it. Watch the instructional video, but it's as simple as that. You just literally going to go and you're going to make a web page and you're going to add a few things to it, and I'll tell you what needs to be on there. And you can go back to build if you click there, and there's all that. And again, you can add whatever you want. You can add files. That's how I added these. If you want to add a file, you would literally just drag it over and drop it, and it'll be there. Like, watch, I want to put it right there. Boom, it's gone. If I want to get rid of it, delete it, it's gone. Boom. Simple as that. And as I mentioned, you get some student sites right there. You just click on that, and you have, I believe you get 10 student sites when you sign up, and you can pay for more. A lot of times schools will do it. My students actually liked doing them, especially my 6th graders for some reason, and it was another thing where they could go home and show their parents that they were creating a website. This was a student example that one of my 6th graders did. We were doing early 20th century history, and they wanted to do one on the Red Baron. And as you can see, this is just a screenshot, but I had them create a home page. They had to do a bio, and then they had to find a video on the website or on the internet that connected to the person. Most of them went to YouTube and embedded it in, but that was fine. They kind of met the assignment. So what do you need to do? You need to sign. Let's just say sign up for either a Wix, Google, or Weebly education website. Create a brief website using your chosen software, and you're going to include the following: a title page with your name, like mine. Like, let me go back. I'll go back to my website. Oh, sorry. When you're finished, you have to hit publish. I'll just go ahead and do that. And there it is. So let's click it. Boom. Got a lot of tabs open up here, don't I? As you can see, that's your website. And whatever you add, you'll click here. There's that. If I go over more, you can see my History Bowl. That was a History Bowl team. By the way, if you look back there, there's a plaque for my History Bowl team that my school was doing something with, and I took it. Not in a theft manner, though. Once you do that and you publish it, you can just build it, and you'll have a website that you can go check out. There's my home. You can design this however you want. Obviously, keep it kind of related to your content. If you're elementary, you might want to do something that's just, kind of general. If you are in art, you might want to do something that's art-based and such. You can pick whatever backgrounds and all that you want. But going back to the assignment, title page with your name, like mine, that has France behind it. You have to have a header and include one of the following underneath the header. And what I mean by header, I mean these. You have to create one more page. And once you create that other page, you include one of the following underneath the header, either a handout, a link, a video, I don't care which, just something that shows that you can post something underneath that header. There's a tutorial on Weebly posted. If you have any problems, you're able to come by and see me in my office. Oh, well, you actually can't see me, but we can set up a Zoom and we can talk and see each other that way. But again, all you really need to do, create a website, create a homepage, create a subpage, and include some material underneath of it. That's all I'm really asking for. And then publish it and submit the link. You do those things, you're good to go. You'll find with this class, we're not going to do super deep dives. I think I said that on the informational video or the welcome video. It's about introducing you to these things, and maybe you can expand on it if you like it in the future or things like that. You can make these websites as big as you want, even for me. I'm just not asking. I just want to make sure that you know how to do the technology. I'll throw this on here real quick. We'll probably talk about this on a later date. But one thing you're probably going to see, especially many of you are going to be out in the field, I guess, for 370 or 443 or your PED classes, or if you're graduate students, the equivalent of 443 and things like that. But there's a lot of electronic plan books out there. One that I used was called planbook.com. Some of them are free, but sometimes I've found you get what you pay for. This one I think was $10 a year, and I always liked it. You know what? Just since I'm mentioning it, I'll go ahead and pull it up. Let's do this. And you don't have to do anything with this, but since I had it on the PowerPoint, I thought I'd go ahead and show it to you. The reality is I know most of you know that when you're planning, there's university planning, and you're probably going to see there's real world planning. They're a little different. And what I mean by that is there's a little more detail that's oriented with university planning, but that's still not saying that you should be organized and have everything that you need. And one thing you might notice, let me see if I got this on here. There you go. One of my things is like for my 6th grade, you can put everything on here. And here's the beauty of these electronic planners. Usually your standards, they're embedded in there so you can find them, insert them. I didn't type all this. These were just the standards that I was trying to meet with this lesson. And as you can see, it was a pretty short week, so it was kind of a little skimpy on the planning there. And I would always expand. Let's see there. And you can see there's some stuff on the Anne Frank that I did and all, but it's just something you might want to check out or consider in the future. I'm not going to do a deep dive on it, but that's planbook.com. It's on our syllabus for a little later, and we can get into that then. But for this week, I am going to go back. Oh, there you go. There's a little more into standards, and you can attach things. This is another good place to keep information if you ever needed it. Let's get out of all this and look at the assignment. I kind of mentioned it, but just to make sure they coalesce, sign up either for Weebly, Wix, or Google. Create something, title page with your name, sub page, and that's it. That's all I need. And submit the link. If you are having absolute nightmares with something, by the way, I should also say this for this class, take a screenshot and submit it so at least I know you've got it or you've done it. If you hit the publish button on Wix, Google, or Weebly, you should be fine now. And then again, submit on Sakai under assignments, and I will check them out and grade them. There is a small rubric that I will use for grading, so don't worry if there's not a whole lot of comments. Usually it's just like meets all standards or is classroom ready or not. 99 times out of 100 they are classroom ready, and if not, I usually just make a comment and say, can you tweak this or things like that. Really quick, related to the discussion board, I can kind of make a quick segue here, but one thing with the discussion board this week, you'll notice it is related to 21st century skills. And if you look here, there's already a discussion posted. You're going to find 2 articles on 21st century skills. I'll move my face out of the way. That both teachers and students should be able to display. Obviously, all of the skills are important, but from the 15 characteristics of a 21st century teacher article, which is the top one, what skill do you feel is most important in the classroom? And I should alter this. I'm talking for you to display. Then related to the 4 C's of student 21st century skills, what do you think students should display? And what do you think they struggle the most with? And if you look here, slowly we'll look here. Here's the article. And these are some things that the teacher should display, 15 characteristics. And like I say, they're very straightforward. You'll find tons of lists on 21st century skills. Some are varied, some are different, some are pretty straightforward, some look very repetitive. But by and large, they're kind of along these lines. You need to have a learner-centered classroom. That's a 21st century skill. The students need to produce that. To me, that goes hand in hand with being student-centered. Learn new technologies. I should also add that students should be also using the new technologies. Be a little more global. Don't be afraid to use technology like smartphones. That's a catch-22, but it's an article. Roll with it. Maybe you have students blog. I'm having you blog, and it doesn't have to be anything. It's a good way just to kind of get your thoughts out. Go digital, collaborate, use Twitter. Again, you probably need school permission with that one. Connect. Project-based learning is always a good one. In social studies, we stress that a lot. Inquiry-based, project-based learning. Build your digital footprint. Websites will do that. You know, innovate, keep learning, always be professional, go to conferences, don't get stagnant, don't get stale. Those are the 21st century teacher skills. And if you look, let's see if we can go back. Here are some other 21st century skills that are posted. That article is posted, and here's some others. These are what students really should be focused on, or what you want your students to be able to do: to be creative, critical thinking, communicate, technology, flexibility. You can read them, no problem. And if you look, there are 4 C's: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, and they all kind of branch off from there. So just check these out, and when you go to answer your question again, what you're going to do, both teachers and students need 21st century skills. From the 15 characteristics of a 21st century teacher article, what skill do you think is most important? Granted, you're probably going to think all of them are important in some aspects, but just pick one, make a decision. And then for the 4 C's of student learning, which ones do you think students struggle with the most, and why? So, and again, these are opinion questions or thoughts. There's no right or wrong answer. Just make sure you have some reasons, and, you know, have that 200 to 250 word response. So that, my friends, I believe is going to take us. I'm going to hit this real quick. Go back to your all's view. Whoops, no, I'm not, because I have not published week 2 yet. We'll go back. And as you can see, that's it. Everything is already going to be posted. The video, it's going to look a little different. This was last semester's. I'll post this one up, and it'll be sitting right there. Follow this. Everyone's doing rock star stuff. I'm really happy with how everyone's been doing. Everyone seemed like they were ready to roll. I know most of you are already going out in the field. Some of you are already teachers. I know if you're graduate students or been there. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And let me add this little precursor. This was a little bit of a longer video because I was kind of the websites, I think, are a little quirky, and plus just making sure I wanted to show you, hold your hand, so to speak, where everything is posted and such. Again, not literally hold your hand, but to show you again just where everything is in case you need another week to get used to that. So good work. I'll try to make sure everything is graded from week 1 by Tuesday or Wednesday. Don't hold me to that, but I think it should be, because it's pretty straightforward stuff. And hope the semester keeps going well, and I hope if you're getting ready to go out in the field in the coming weeks that it's a good one. So it sounds like you might be live in some classes if you're locally, so with some. So anyway,